Okay, folks, welcome back to Sunset Falls. I'm going to try to maintain a smooth, neutral tone of my voice, despite the fact that this is the second time I've recorded this episode. Thought we had something really great going on. Turns out my audio inputs were not working properly. So, you know what? I think we're just going to take another opportunity to do this again. And we'll be able to improve a little bit based on what we know now. So there are a few things that I'd like to change in the Railside Heights district that we've just created in our last episode before moving on to this episode's main attraction, or main component, so to speak, right? So first of all, I think we have fixed this issue with the tennis club. It says that it doesn't have enough workers, but what I've noticed is that if we just delete this and then we add it back in, we should be able to add it in without issue. So let's just kind of pop that right back in there. Now, if we run the game slowly here, operating normally and no issues with workers anymore. So that's been fixed, always a plus. Other things we want to focus on are these buildings over here are not super in line with the vibe, right, that we're trying to go with in this district. I actually like most of these buildings, but specifically this Stern Burger building I think has to go. We'll let something else pop up there. And then all of these buildings don't really fit the aesthetic either. So let's get rid of those. And I think actually what we want to do is turn all of this into office space. And then I think we actually want to apply the IT cluster policy here. So I always forget that you can't do it through here. You have to do it through this menu, which just frankly makes no sense to me. But if we apply the IT cluster policy, the only office buildings that we have set up here are right here. So that should help there. A few other things that we want to do is there are kind of an abundance of parking lots here. And I think what we'd want to do is actually get rid of most of these parking lots and put in an actual parking garage in this space. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of our parking lots here that are kind of just popping up. But what you notice is if you look at this, is a lot of this has to do with the way that these are structured, right? So these streets don't actually run through. So if I actually pull those streets out like that, you'll notice that now all of a sudden we have a different sized block here. Whoops, I want that to be low. There we go. We have a different sized block, and that might help with our parking lot problems here. So we'll kind of just leave those deleted and see what fills back up as we keep going through there. Let's actually consider maybe doing that over here as well. I'll actually get rid of this street. And then something I did that I actually really like the concept of is let us pull back on the zoning right here, and then maybe just kind of throw our own little unique stands in. So what I want to do is go to the park options and then just throw down some of those basic food trucks and stands, right, that exist here. So we can just kind of almost create our own little farmer's market vibe here. We're actually going to use the prop line tool. Those are a little bit too close to each other. So there is a way that you can separate those out. I do not remember how you can actually do that. But, honestly, looking at that, that's not bothering me as much as I thought it would. Let's go back. All right, we'll add a little bit more spacing in. See what this looks like. That's more like it. So add in some stalls right there, and maybe do the exact same thing the other direction. There we go. They're kind of alternating a little bit. Perfect. And then I just wanted to throw down a few food vendors too. Maybe have a little pop soda station right here. And maybe throw in a food truck kind of right on this lane. Boom. There we go. And that already fills up the space. It looks more like kind of, the farmer's market that you might envision. And we'll see what kind of grows up here in this next little space, because we do have some more. Oh, there we go. We even have another little section we can fill in here. Perfect. Okay. Final thing that we want to work on. Actually, that's not true. Penultimate thing we want to work on in this area is I do want to see if we can find a little plaza that I've used before that I really enjoy using. It's this one. It's this little Sunken City Plaza. I'd love to throw that essentially right here. And the reason I want to do that is because these buildings right here are really close to increasing to the max out. I guess it's just these two are really close to hitting their max here. And I'd like to see them get there. So adding in just a little bit more in this space, I think might help push us over the edge, so to speak, right? We're starting to see our IT buildings coming over there. Excited to see what pops up. And then the last thing I want to do is also shift some of this stuff over. And the reason I want to do that is this is not a permanent change. We're just kind of relocating these temporarily. I just need to put them somewhere. But I think this is the perfect spot for our larger parking garage to go. And I do think it's worth us throwing down something here just to make it a little bit more accessible to actually get into this space, right? So we have This is Park Plaza. Yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff here. We're just looking for this regular garage. We want to kind of park it right off the street here. And I think we can probably make this work. I'm just going to turn anarchy on so we don't destroy this commercial center building, but we have plenty of space. Ironically, you probably don't need that parking back there anymore. I'll just mention that. So now we have this super accessible parking right here. And then to be able to kind of get all of these things and this stuff back in here, we're just going to create a little access road right along the side here that actually wraps around, I think, just a little bit around here, and see if we can fit these things back over here. So we're just going to throw our police station back on, throw our firehouse back on, throw our medical clinic back on, and throw our crematorium right at the end here. And something I've noticed, this may just be because I'm using this better crematorium asset, but it's kind of a little bit off the road. So what I've been doing is actually taking it and pushing it back onto the road here. So we'll move this, pull this back up. So it's just kind of this little scooch here. And then I think we can take our paths and just write in a nice little pedestrian path that goes right from here over here. There we go. And maybe we'll even throw a few trees right along there just to get something interesting going on, right? Do we have anything? Corsican pine. That sounds kind of interesting. What does that look like along here? Boom. Cool. Okay, so now we have this nice 8-story parking garage here. And again, acknowledging that we're operating a very car minimal space along here. Hopefully this will be a great way for people to bring their cars into this space, but then not have to worry about them once they're here. You know, you can just come, park, and then enjoy the walkable amenities of this area. All right, so I'm going to bet you dollars to donuts that we're making more parking lots here. Yeah. All right, we'll work on that. We'll keep working on that. I think we'll find a way to get around that. But in the meantime, this building looks way more consistent with what we're trying to find here. These buildings are doing okay. They are going to have problems finding some workers, I think, especially highly educated workers. So that is something we're going to have to think about pretty quickly. But what you'll notice is that we're actually well on our way towards hitting this new university campus area deadline. So if we can get up to 28,000, I think that will give us all of the toys that we want to play with, so to speak, right? When we're planning out our campus areas. And over here, we've kind of saved this space for a college campus. I also think this space would make a really good college campus as well. So something to think about. If you have a strong preference, let me know. If you think the college makes more sense down here, over here, I think it's an opportunity to experiment rather, with some interesting new service types. I've never used a trolley bus depot. I think that could be kind of interesting. And that definitely is reminiscent of my time in college and kind of using the bus to get around. So very curious as to your thoughts on how we could potentially put in a college and or a university. And note they are kind of two different things here. You have the trade school, the liberal arts college, and the university campus. Those are all separate things. So we can actually put multiple here in here or over here or whatever you're thinking. So let me know your thoughts on that. But that's not what we're doing today. What we are doing today is trying to acknowledge that over here, and we have a resourcing problem. Okay, well, we just dropped off some resources there theoretically. So yeah, and we're kind of seeing these, goods moving through this space. Apparently we have a crime problem over here. That's never really what you want to see, despite the fact that the police are literally right here. That is bold. That is very bold. But that is not a problem for today. So what I was thinking about here is looking at our industry buildings, right? So if you go to your unique industry buildings here, or unique factories rather, right? What you'll notice is you kind of have all the level 1 factories here, the level 2 factories here, the level 3, the level 2, the level 3, the level 4, the level 5, right? So we've gone through our ore industry is thriving over here, and we do need to actually put a few more things in, but we are a full 5-star prospect mineral industry. We have created a ton of resources. We're still in the negative apparently in terms of our profit, but that's probably because we just don't really do much with these resources. We are also running into resourcing issues in terms of just getting our ore to the right place, which is kind of weird because we literally have 97% of this storage full of ore. We're working on that, right? And some ore products in here. That's not too bad. Awesome. But the larger question is we've noticed that we've unlocked all 5 stadiums, right? So we have the industrial steel plant, we have the electronics factory, we have the car factory, and we have the shipyard, all of which I'm very excited to place in our larger industry space over on this island, right? But I was thinking about where some of these other factories might go. And when you look at Brewer's Landing, I think a bakery would work perfectly in this space. Like, you can't really see the asset. It's kind of behind the unlock bar there, but I think it would look fantastic in this space. I think we really validate this cargo line being here. And, it's just like a fun factory that we can include on our path to really develop a huge industry in this space. So I think that's what we'd like to do. And in order to do that, we are going to have to begin a farming industry. So I've thought about this a little bit, but if you look at our resources on our map, there isn't like an immediately obvious place we should begin our farming industry. You could maybe say right in here looks like an option, but we kind of already have plans for that area. That's going to be more of like our built up government space here. So I don't think we want to do that today. So the other obvious place, well, semi-obvious place, I should say, for me is actually right over here. And I say that because you have farmland here, you have farmland here, and you have these hills. And I really think we could do something interesting with these hills, and especially when it comes to farming. I'm going to actually just take this brush. We're going to make sure that there's enough fertile land here to be able to really do our farming without having to worry about that too much in terms of resource gain. Just kind of right through here as well. But I think we could do something really interesting with some terraced farming here. Terraced being like different levels on the mountains, right? That is really not something I've ever had to do before or ever been able to do before. I think it'll be challenging, but I'd like to give it a shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this space here, and I think just kind of bring a road off of this up here so we can start our farming industry. So I'm actually going to go into our industries here, just make a new industry area, really kind of kick up the size of our industry area here. We're just going to kind of capture everything from that little bank there over here to get our Florence region. Now, I don't think we are going to stick with that name by any means, but that is a problem for another day. So let's go into our medium roads. We're just going to grab our medium industry road and bring that right off of here. And I think what we want to do is actually think about where we're going to cross this road, right? So let's kind of back off a little bit, go up to a 12-meter road right here and go right across. So that's 12 units right across. Interesting that it kind of bridges with the little units in between. That's interesting. All right, so let's bring this down, and then we're going to see if we can go down a full, let's see, 10 units, I think. There we go. So we can kind of make that measurement on each side. Go down 10 there. Okay, great. So now we can kind of bring this right down here and hopefully connect this up with our road right here. So I think we're going to actually pull back a little bit here, do the same thing over here, and see if we can make a nice curve. Beautiful. There we go. Okay. So now we have appropriate traffic coming that way. I think we can carry this line actually just kind of straight through along here. Of course, we're going to run into some issues with our rail line. That's okay. We can make that work. I'm actually going to just take this, move this back just a little bit, and I think we should be good to go. So we'll go right through here, and we must have our prop anarchy on, it looks like, because we have props all over this road. Let's see if we can kind of get these out of the way. I love the props. I think we definitely want to keep those, but we do not want a bunch of rocks and grass right in the middle of our roadway, do we? Okay. Oh, there's our backwards train. Bye, guys. See you later. Not even gonna try to deal with that. All right, so let's go down to our smaller road and maybe just make kind of like a little frontage road along this rail line here. And this is going to be important for a variety of reasons. But I think as of right now, it's mostly just a way for us to kind of space out how we think it makes sense to actually connect up this road, right? So I'm going to bring this along here, and then I'm actually going to pull this road back behind the tracks, and then we can kind of go back here and maintain our road here. So now we can go back here, connect this up. Golden. Awesome. One thing I think we do want to do is actually then switch back to our smaller industry road and just kind of pull up a quick 90 degrees here, just to kind of give us a sense of spacing, right? And then to kind of officially make this our farm area, if we go into our farming industry and we just plop down our little farm space right here, we've unlocked a few different items. Awesome. There we go. So that's enough for us to use. Actually, I think I want to put this directly on the other side. There we go. But we've unlocked both our storage items, our level 1 storage in the small grain silo, and a small field, a small fruit field, and a small animal pasture. So right away, as soon as we pop this, we're getting upset about electricity and water pipes. So I think in terms of water, we can just go ahead and place a really basic, let's turn anarchy off here. Whoops, there we go. Anarchy off so we don't make too many mistakes here. But I think we'll just put a nice little kind of water tower right here, bring this out onto the road. And then I will, I don't want to say begrudgingly because I'm not begrudgingly doing it, but we will put our water pipes under the roads where they belong. And we'll bring this right down here and we can connect up to our larger water infrastructure over here as well. Kind of come right along here, make the turn, and then connect up into there. Perfect. This road looks so weird. Is it just me? Does this look odd for our industry road? It seems odd to me. I don't know exactly what's going on there. We'll take a closer look if we need to, but for now, I think we're okay. All right, so now electricity. I think this is going to attempt to be a green farm as much as we can within reason, right? So let's throw a few windmills right over here. The slope is pretty steep here, but I think we can make this work. And then I'm actually going to use the underground power lines here. They were mentioned in the comments in a previous episode that I was using those over on the industrial space as well, over kind of in the brewer's landing, rather, so to speak. What is going on with the crime, guys? The cops are literally right across the street. I don't know what you're doing. But I do just kind of generally prefer the aesthetic there. I think it makes it a lot easier in terms of kind of just planning around, especially like in a rural area. I don't really think these power lines make the most sense for this aesthetic. So we're just going to use the underground power lines for the time being, and I can look into grabbing a rural asset in the near future. Okay, so let's start building out some of our basic farm assets. I think we're just going to start with the small crop field and just place a few of these. I always tend to, get a little overzealous when I'm placing some of those fields, and it ends up causing some problems because I go all in on our level 1 assets and don't think about our level 2, 3, 4, and 5 assets, right? So let's just start with a small little kind of set of greenhouses here. I think that'll be fine, right? And then let's actually bring this road over and we can throw some of these. Maybe we'll save the orchards. I think it'd be really neat to do the orchards kind of somewhere up here. I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like yet. I think we could potentially run a road kind of along here, but I want to save that a little bit, at least until kind of level 2. We can get off the ground, right? But I think we should take our small animal pastures here and just kind of set them up right there. So we'll have them kind of facing the other side, hoping to try to kind of minimize some of the traffic that we're going to see through here. But we'll put them right there. And then we can grab our last asset, which is our small grain silos, and maybe put those right across the street, I'm thinking. Maybe like right here. Because theoretically, what's going to happen is we're going to get grain. And actually, I'm going to cut down the number of these that we have, just to kind of make life a little bit easier. We're going to have grains or crops coming in from these houses, and they're going to be stored in these before they go to our pastures. So we'll see if this is kind of enough right here to be able to actually provide crops for here. And apparently those need water as well. So let's actually run our water pipes up one more street. There we go. I think that will fix that immediate problem. Awesome. All right, how many? Okay, so we don't have a ton of workers here. We're still working on that, so to speak, right? Let's see if there are any policies we can pull up that will support that. Improve logistics, always seems good. Improve worker safety, love it. Advanced automation, also great. We're not playing with money, so I'm totally fine with putting all those policies in place. It looks like right now, I don't think this has kind of fully sorted itself out quite yet, but we will be growing crops. We have 4 stored already, so that's pretty awesome. And then we also have our animal products, right? So we are going to need a few more workers before we hit the next level. But we are kind of on our way in terms of our resource units. So the last thing I want to do in this space for the time being is figure out how we are going to actually export a lot of these products, right? And so I think it makes sense for us to potentially try to work another cargo station in our line right around here. And the reason I say that is because if you look over here, our line continues in an elevated format all the way across this river bend before it comes all the way over here. And actually, I love how this looks. Again, shout out to the map creator here. This is just a phenomenal work here. But I think right over here, you kind of see that transition to a grounded train line here. And I think that's what we want to potentially take advantage of. So there's two things at play here, right? There is the cargo line, and I think we can use one of these kind of smaller assets like the Milwaukee Road Depot Station or potentially the Kansas City Freight House again. But then there's also a civilian line, and I'm hoping, or a citizen line, right? And I'm hoping that if we include one of these stations, maybe an end station, or maybe just kind of something very similar like a bypass station or an island station, that we would be able to actually get citizens into this space to be able to actually do some work. Because that's definitely been a problem that we've seen in the not so distant future, or not so distant past rather, is that we've had a hard time actually getting people in to the area to actually do some work. So if we were to take like an elevated bypass station, do we have an elevated bypass station right here? Kind of load that in right here. That might help us get some more people to actually work in this space, right? And I'm thinking we could potentially even get it pretty close right there, for instance. And see now, if I get a little bit creative here with did it actually hook up to those? I don't think it did actually hook up to these appropriately. So let's pull those back, and then let's run our own train lines through here. You can never quite tell when you use Anarchy to place something like that if they're actually being placed properly. And then we'll bring right across there. Okay, and this is great because it brings this little street right through here. Does this look like it should actually be here? The aesthetic is definitely tricky, don't get me wrong, but there aren't a ton of great rural train stations that I've seen recently. And I really wanted to have that bypass capability. So, okay, that is what I don't like. There we go. Okay, I think we're in a good spot now. So that's more so what I was concerned about. And I'm going to throw, again, kind of our regular train set on here. And then let's also just grab our existing kind of train infrastructure here. And I think let's have a line come up from here. A second line, maybe created on this side, right? Create a line that starts there. It's going to go and stop up here. And then it'll actually go all the way up this way to our farm. Put in a stop there. Then we can obviously have another stop come back through here. And then we will end our journey right back at our market station. Let's actually use the green, like a dark green for this. There we go. In terms of types here, I think we can do passenger train, Ocean View Limited, and Caltrain, and we'll be in a very good spot. Okay, so we have our second train line here. So hopefully some of the residents of Railside Heights will be able to get all the way up here to the farm, the Florence agricultural area rather. If you have any name recommendations for this farm, please let us know. Always interested to get your thoughts in the comments. And then we can see this bypass working exactly as intended right here. Okay, so now we need the cargo station, right? So in my early tests, I thought we could use the Milwaukee Depot station, but lo and behold, if you place it, turns out it's a passenger station. It's not a cargo station. So I think we're gonna wanna use that same Kansas City station that worked so well for us over in Brewer's Landing. And we're just gonna use this little guy, this Kansas City Freight House, and potentially connect it up, I think probably right around here, kind of at the end of this road. So what I'm gonna do is actually go ahead and just delete some of this, and I think we can maybe even carry this road out just a little bit further, because that'll give us a little bit more wiggle room on this train here. Put it right here. We may end up kind of wanting to revise this a little bit just based on the overall level of traffic that ends up coming through here, but I'm hoping that that'll be okay for the moment. The larger trick in my mind is going to be potentially lining this up. I think we can get away with it. This looks a little bit better aligned. Let's see. I keep clicking on roads instead of trains. Let's see if we turn Anarchy off. Is this okay? So that's a very doable slope right here, that seems. For some reason, my node controller has just disappeared. So I don't have the ability to fully slope this with our sloped nodes. But what I can do is I think take a look at this and see. Honestly, it's close enough. I don't want to start messing with it yet. I know better at this point in time, right? Perfect will not be the enemy of good right now. The other thing that we want to do is I think bring this a little bit further out here and then just connect this right up there. Beautiful. One thing I did want to be able to do is have like a connecting line here where you didn't have to go through the station. Sorry, a bypass line. Just kind of totally blanked on that. Maybe we just kind of bring one directly from this junction. That's kind of the best thought I had, honestly, is that kind of come around here. And then let's see, what height is that at? 7? All right, so come along here. actually here, let's do this a little bit differently. So this is going to be at 6, bring this up to 12 here, and then we'll kind of bring this down right there. We can kind of curve this gently away so we're not going to actually hit our station. Kind of right there. Bring a straight line just across the back of the station. Can we snap this into a 180? We can technically, but I think that looks a little bit garbage. So we just run this behind the station rather, a little bit through, and then we can kind of curve this in right there. So now we do have a bypass lane right here, and we just need to connect this up kind of there. Okay, so again, the slope isn't perfectly matched here, but I think it's close enough, so to speak, that we now have a nice bypass lane that doesn't really distract from our railroad here. So I'm especially thinking of any kind of passenger trains that we have coming through here, we won't have to worry about nearly as much, right? And I mean, technically we could place this directly on the path. It doesn't really feel like there's a huge need for it. So we'll kind of see how this goes. Right now it is kind of on this little extra path here. I don't know, the one thing we could check, are there any other train stations that we like a little bit better in here? It's a metro station. Well, here, let's go just to train stations here. There are some of these elevated platform train stations. The problem is these look even more modern. So I think, this is a very modern looking train station. You would not find this out in clearly a rural area by a farm. So if anyone has any recommendations for, these are all around. This is the only other one I could think of because it's at like this fun little angle that maybe we could do something with this. But not really, because the line, the train line itself, right, is all flat compared to the angle of the actual station. So if you have any recommendations on good kind of rural train assets, feel free to let me know, because this station is more so my least worst option, right, rather than my absolute best option. These little guys are interesting. Where are they coming from? Returning to your facility, eh? Where did you come from? You're delivering them. Where are you coming from now? I'm not sure. I actually think there's a way to look this up. I'm just being lazy about it. Do this. Where did you come from? I guess it's not going to show me. All right. We'll figure it out eventually. Looks like maybe our crops just aren't quite fully in season yet. Do you need raw materials here? We have some crops. I don't know why these aren't getting out here. We do have workers. Oh, yeah, we have to pick our animal. Let's do Highland cows. That sounds fun. Highland cows in both places. We just need to actually get them their materials. And okay. Oh, perfect. We're actually literally seeing materials being delivered right now, I think. Perfect. We now have some crops in this space, and in just a second, I think we should have some cows. Oh, beautiful. Look at those Highland cows. Awesome. I'm going to consider that success right there. Oh, they think so too. Always great to hear. All right. I think we have successfully built our little one-star farm right here. Okay. Interesting. What's going on here? It actually looks like this is all working pretty much as intended. Let's just bring our power line over here, kind of get this station powered up. But I think for the most part, this bypass line is actually working perfectly here. We didn't really drop anyone off. I guess that's not shocking to me, but that's okay. Great. So we'll just kind of have to keep a close eye on this. Again, this is two stations that are very close together. And you'll notice that this whole space is not quite long enough to store a full train. So we may have to extend this and see if our bypass is actually working correctly. But for now, I'm tentatively pleased with how that's working out. Okay, interesting. Because we face them all this way, they have to go out this way versus just taking this right here. Let's fix that really quickly. And I think I'm not worried about just kind of deleting these because there's no like crop season. Ooh, except I just saw all those cars disappear. I might be totally mistaken. We may have just set ourselves back a little bit, but I think that's okay. We'll just throw the fields right there instead. So now they can all just make a quick right turn and be right here. How do our silos look? Okay, they're both doing okay. And then maybe we'll place one more just in case. There we go. All right, I think that's going to be it for this episode, folks. Feel free to give me some feedback if you love these stations, hate these stations. Always curious to get your comments and what your thoughts are on the future of our Florence agricultural area. But I am looking forward to unlocking our new bakery asset quite shortly because I think it'll look great. Wait, we have hit level 1, right? Nope, this is still level 1. Okay, well, we're getting there. We're trying to hit level 2. The good news is that we're producing resource units just fine. It's just our workers. So All right, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we will catch up next time. Have a great rest of your day.